Hey everyone, my name is Aerisk, and today I'm going to be bringing you a guide on how to fight against hunters. Now in this video I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently. What I mean by that is I'm actually going to show you the main turning points in terms of dueling hunters, and what simple steps you can take in order to counter them. Number 1. Disengage. Disengage is the hunter's ability to leap backwards a fair distance. Most hunters pick up the talent called Post Haste, which allows them to gain a speed boost after using Disengage, and it also removes slows and roots when they use it, but it doesn't make them immune to them. Countering Disengage is really simple, but it is really crucial for beating hunters as well. To counter Disengage, you need to save your paralysis for when they use it. This is because it is very difficult to catch a hunter with Chi Torpedo, Roll or Serpent Kick after he has the speed boost buff from Disengage. However, if you use paralysis as they disengage, you can easily stop them in their tracks and get up to them and apply a slow before paralysis runs out. Number 2. Master's Call. Master's Call is the hunter equivalent to a paladin's freedom. It removes and makes them immune to movement appearing effects for a certain amount of time. To counter Master's Call, you should catch them in a Fist of Fury stun. The stun from Fist of Fury lasts just as long as Master's Call does, so after the stun is over you can reapply your slow to them and continue applying pressure. One thing to note is that some hunters use the glyph of Master's Call, which doubles its duration. If they do have that, you should still stun them with Fist of Fury, but after that you'll have to wait until it's gone and then immediately reapply a slow. If you have Glyph of Freedom Roll, you can use jumping Chi Torpedoes if you get slowed within the remaining duration of Master's Call to get rid of the slows and maintain pressure. Number 3. Traps. The first trap that you have to worry about is Explosive Trap. This trap will knock you back when you trigger it, and it is usually not avoidable because either the hunter will put it down next to you, where it is impossible to react, or they will kite you around the trap so you basically have no choice but to trigger it. If the hunter gives you a fair amount of space to avoid the trap and it is clear where it is, then you can run around it, but if they put it down and they stay next to it, then you can counter it with Transcendence. To do this, you run it directly at the trap. When you are fairly close to it, jump on top of it and apply your Transcendence Spirit there. When you get knocked back, you can teleport back to your spirit and keep pressure on the hunter again. Next is Freezing Trap. This is the trap that will freeze you in place and prevent any actions for 8 seconds. There really isn't a counter for Freezing Trap other than being able to run around it, but that doesn't always happen. So if you get stuck in a Freezing Trap and the hunter is close and at a dangerous point of health, then you should trinket it and keep on killing him. But if you get put into a trap where the hunter is on a good amount of health, then it isn't wise to trinket. Number 4. Stuns. Most hunters use Binding Shot, which is an arrow that is placed on the ground, and if you walk into its proximity, you get stunned when you leave the area. Much like traps, it is possible to run around them if they aren't placed directly on you, but if you get caught in a Binding Shot, then you need to run out of its range and use Nimble Brew to get out of it straight after you get stunned. Number 5. Deterrence. Deterrence is an ability which causes hunters to deflect attacks on them for 4 seconds. This ability has 2 charges. When a hunter uses Deterrence, all you have to do is heal up, which is your main priority unless for some reason you're at max health, and also refresh your Tiger Palm buff by using the Hunter's Pet. Now with all those main abilities outlined, let's go into the talent choices that I take against hunters. For the first tier, you can either take Tiger's Lust or Celerity, but personally I take Celerity. This is because whenever I use Tiger's Lust, I feel as though I rely on it too much, and the problem with it is that you can use it and get slowed immediately after using it, which is a problem. But if you aren't too good at using Chi Torpedoes and anticipating where they will be in order to slow them after you use it, then Tiger's Lust can be better, but I highly recommend trying to master Celerity first. For the second tier, you can either take Chi Wave or Chi Burst. Chi Wave is good because it's an instant cast and can't be interrupted, and it generally does more healing than Chi Burst, but if you get a Chi Burst crit, then it pulls way ahead. I just prefer using Chi Burst because I like the upfront burst damage and healing, so for this tier it's really just personal preference. For the next tier, I take Chi Brew. This is because Power Strikes isn't very good in comparison to it, and the energy regen from Ascendance goes to waste because you aren't on your target the entire time, and you will basically never reach 6 Chi. But with Chi Brew you have better control over generating Chi, and it generates Tiger Eye Brew as well, which makes setting up Burst a lot easier. For the next tier, I think that Leg Sweep is the best, because it lasts longer than Ox Wave and I find it easier to land. Getting a hunter in a full Leg Sweep where they don't have a trinket is very good for you. Hunters are also more inclined to trinket Leg Sweep because it's a 5-second stun as opposed to the 3 seconds from Ox Wave, and generally if you take Ox Wave, it's because you can't catch up to them and you use it at a range, so they won't have to trinket it anyway. But if you use Leg Sweep and actually catch them in the stun, then you're already in range with them and you're hitting them, which can also make them trinket. For the next tier, Chi Torpedo is basically a must take right now. Energy regen got slowed down a lot in Warlords of Draenor, so having good uptime on Rushing Jade Wind is impossible without losing a lot of damage, and the damage it deals is pretty bad in comparison to Chi Torpedo. Invokes Wind does do good damage, but it removes your paralysis from the target because it leaves a dot on them. But Chi Torpedo, on the other hand, provides slight off healing, does high damage, travels further, and when combined with Celerity is very powerful. Finally, for the last tier, I choose Hurricane Strike. This is because you won't get the most out of Serenity because you can get kited and lose the whole effect of it, and Chi Explosion leaves a dot on your target, and if it breaks your paralysis you can get kited very easily after that. Hurricane Strike, however, does quick and high burst damage, and it can be used to avoid crowd control. For example, if you see a freezing trap on the ground that a hunter is standing next to, you can Hurricane Strike through it and you'll be immune. The same thing goes for Binding Shot, but you should just use your Nimble Brew for that. For glyphs, I take Freedom Roll to remove slows, Touch of Death for easy kills at low health, and Touch of Karma so I can use that at range just in case of emergency. Next we're going to talk about the strategy that you should use when you fight against hunters. So for the opening of the duel, you should start off with a Serpent Kick and then slow them immediately after. At this point, multiple things can happen and it's easy to counter them all. If they disengage, you paralyze them. If they use Master's Call, you stun them with the Fist of Fury and then slow them after it's gone. Or you'll get caught in a freezing trap, which you shouldn't trinket, but after it's gone, you chase them with your Chi Torpedoes and then slow them. Do not use paralysis unless the hunter disengages, or you will be in a lot more trouble than you want to be in. So those are the main things that you need to worry about against the hunter. For the rest of the duel, do as much damage as you can to them. If they're deterrents, heal yourself. If they use their burst, use Fortifying Brew or Karma. I like to use Karma when a hunter uses Barrage with cooldowns, because it's a lot of damage that you could take. This can potentially cause the hunter to use Deterrence, which is one less defensive for them later, making them easier to kill. So that basically wraps it up for this guide. The next guide is going to be against Enhancement Shamans. If you have any remaining questions or requests for a guide against a certain class, please feel free to leave a comment and I'll reply as soon as I can, which is usually very quickly. And also, if you enjoyed, please feel free to leave a like or subscribe if you're feeling awesome. Also, I have to give a huge thank you to all of my subscribers right now. It's absolutely unbelievable that I've gotten over 100, and I just want to express my immense gratitude for it, and hopefully I can return the favour by providing content that you guys enjoy. Ever since I started YouTube, I've gotten a lot of support from a wide group of people, and it makes me really happy and it keeps me motivated, so thank you all so much. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll speak to you all in a future video. See ya!